Welcome back to another edition of Post to Post. I am the Rob from 106.1 KISS FM, here again with my tag team partner in podcasting, Mr. Jerry Valeri. Good morning, Jerry.
Good morning, representing Viperville, Pennsylvania. Feeling good about it.
Greetings from Viperville, PA. Happy to have you back on the phone. We decided to watch SmackDown this week, which I wasn't positive we were going to do or not.
I feel like we're going to at least give them till SummerSlam, aren't we?
To me, it might just be touch and go, but I will say I'm a bit more optimistic about the show following this week as I was last week. Now, you watched the show before I did, and I asked you for a one-word description of the show before I went into it. And the word you offered was improved.
Yeah, it certainly was. There was another word I was going to use, and it was focused.
Yeah, I agree with both of those. I strongly agree with both of those. It was a much better show this week than it was the week before. And
first week, I would have used the word abomination.
Yeah, exactly. It was sloppy. It was there was no reason to think that things would get any better. I thought things were on a downward slope. It seemed like the leftover show, which in some way it still does, but we'll get to that. But yeah, I do feel like this show recovered a big fumble from the week before, and this is a very important time to not be fumbling, correct?
I agree wholeheartedly.
All right, let's talk about it. My first note came from the opening segment, and I'm really curious as to your thoughts on this because Dolph Ziggler is kind of becoming the new Roman Reigns for us in that I'm a big fan of his and you're not. A lot of people have gotten cold on him. I don't think anyone really takes away his ability and his potential to be good. I think people have a problem with him. Well, I guess, why don't you explain to me, what is your problem with him?
That's the biggest problem I have is I don't know why I don't like him. I just don't enjoy him. When I hear his music, I'm just like, oh, here he comes again.
Do you think the problem you have with him is out of his hands? Like, is it a writing problem? I think that could be it.
I think it is, and here's why I think it is. Because the first real program that I remember of Dolph Ziggler, I didn't watch there for a little while. So when he was champ and all that and coming up, I didn't see him. So when I finally get and sink my teeth into a program with him, it's him and Lana and Rusev and Summer Rae, and it's just so bad.
Okay.
That was so bad. It ruined the whole summer for me. It ruined my life. Maybe a bit dramatic, but last night, when I finally watched SmackDown, I realized that maybe I'm not going to hate him the whole time because he didn't do a terrible job. I don't want to be that wrestling fan that hates things. I'd love it if every program they put on is awesome and every minute is entertaining. I don't want to have to complain. I'd love it if we could just start this and you'd be like, "Hey, what'd you think?" I'm like, "It was pretty great. What about you?" "Yeah, same. See you next week." It wouldn't be the most entertaining podcast, but that's what I want as a wrestling fan. So when he came out and he changed it from being the show-off and just being this, I don't know, this phony, he was very, I don't know, the promo with him and Dean Ambrose I thought was great. And I like heel Ambrose. I like cocky Ambrose. That was good.
The word they use, the buzzword that they throw around now is pipe bomb for when promos become kind of shooty and kind of borderline real. Yeah. I feel like last night, it was last night for me, it was Tuesday night for the rest of the audience. I watched it on DVR. I feel like Tuesday night was his pipe bomb moment in that he totally changed characters. He his feud with Corbin is now like nothing, which is good because that did nobody any favors, really. But now it's like that part of him is dead and buried. It's in the dirt because now he's in the main event. And now we're treating him like a main eventer. And I think in the course of that one promo, in that one segment, shattered the old image of him to people like you who've been resisting him and really set him up for who he's going to be in the coming months.
Yeah, I loved two things I loved about that from his side. I loved when he looked at Dean Ambrose, and Dean Ambrose was telling us again how he scratched and clawed and fought his way up, and he was like, yeah, started at the top, and now you're here. You came in with Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. Nobody feels bad for you. I started as a male cheerleader.
Right, yeah.
I thought that was great, and then when he just started screaming at the end, it didn't feel to me like he read a script and it said, all right, here's where you start screaming.
Yes.
It felt like it was emotion, he was done with it, and it built up, and it was great. If
that
it was
real.
Not, If it was planned, then he's an incredible actor. I feel like he was really just riding the wave, and the way that Ambrose was just like, no, you're not. No, you're not going to do it. I thought that was great, too. 2 weeks in a row now, I came out and I said, I'm not interested for Randy Orton and Brock Lesnar. That is going to suck. I'm not interested. And the WWE went and made me interested in it. Mm-hmm. And they just made me interested in Dolph Ziggler and Dean Ambrose, and I hope it doesn't bite me in the katuk.
Well, here's the thing is, even if he doesn't win the title, he's going to come out a winner because he is now a legit player after last night. After this week.
Want. That's what you want.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't even need the title to win now. And that's what's great about it. So I wanted to say they did a great job at the start of the show, and I was very curious, and I intentionally did not ask you about this off the show because I wanted to know what you thought about specifically segment number 1 this week. So it sounds like we're on the same page there.
Right. I don't hate Dolph Ziggler right now, and so now I don't know what to do with myself.
Now, did you officially lock in on him? I forget what you said about him at SummerSlam.
I officially locked in on him, and then I officially backpedaled. But then I don't want to lock in on that match because that match is going to go back and forth for me, especially if they're going to get it all gummed up with the Wyatts. If they're going to keep the Wyatts involved, I don't want to lock in on anything.
Okay. Fair enough.
Because who knows what the Wyatts are going to end up doing. I feel like at the end of this whole thing, it's setting up for maybe a Survivor Series, Dean Ambrose, Bray Wyatt, or maybe Dolph Ziggler, Bray Wyatt. I think Bray Wyatt will be champ of that show by Royal Rumble.
That's a fair prediction, and I don't have a problem with that. He's been a guy who's been worthy of a title for a long time.
He needs it. I think it would really add to his character, and he would do some weird things with it. I think he'd do some pretty cool stuff.
So let's talk about this real quick, which is not a note that I had, but so one of the goals of a brand extension is to quote unquote build stars, right. Make stars. 2 people are already extremely benefiting from this on SmackDown side, and that's Dolph Ziggler and Bray Wyatt, who just 2 weeks into the brand extension are in much better places career-wise than they were 2 weeks before.
Right. Instead of being like B-plus stars, they're in the A category now.
They weren't even in B-plus category before.
Well, Dolph wasn't, but Bray was always put in that like almost main event heel.
Yeah, but
for the title.
If you look at his career just in 2016, he was not in a good spot. He was not in a B-plus spot this year.
No, he wasn't, and a lot of that had to do with his injuries, I believe.
Maybe. So I guess that is something I can give a thumbs up to for the brand extension. They've already started to create some stars on the SmackDown side, and worthy stars. These are 2 people who deserve a shot, you know. And I mean, on the Raw side, you've already got it going on too. I mean, Sasha Banks has had. I mean, she was a star to begin with, but she's had a huge career upgrade. Finn Balor is now on the map in a big way. So far, so good, I guess, as far as the brand extension goes. Although I still think you could have done these things without a brand extension, but at least they're recovering nicely, I feel like.
And how good is SummerSlam starting to shape up? If you look at both shows, look at the matches. You know you're getting Orton and Lesnar. You know you're getting Seth Rollins and Finn Balor, Dean Ambrose and Ziggler. Now you're probably going to get Kevin Owens and Jericho versus Enzo and Cass, which is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. You're setting up a Sasha Charlotte rematch. You're going to have that again. And now you've got Bray Wyatt in the mix. Like, there are just a lot of matches that I'm looking at that I'm interested to see.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's shaping up very nicely. Before they went to their first commercial break, they had, for some reason, David Otunga hype up the show. I don't know if you caught this. This is subtle. And I mean, a lot of people probably forgot about it or didn't notice it in the first place. Like, kind of talk about what's coming up on the show tonight. And this really slapped me in the face, and maybe it's because I'm a radio guy and you're a radio guy, and part of our job is to make not exciting things sound exciting. But he did not do a good job at that. He was not a Michael Cole or a JR, right?
Well, I missed it. I have to admit that I skipped a lot.
Okay.
Like, I skipped a lot of stuff. When people that were important were talking, yeah, I stopped. And when matches looked good, I stopped. David Otunga didn't make the cut for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it wasn't even, his face wasn't even on the screen. They're showing, like graphics of things coming up on the show tonight. And he's like, he's conveying no excitement. It's like he's reading and not even reading well. And I really am, I don't always want to pick on commentators because I feel like it's easy and I feel like everyone does it. And, but I feel like there's always someone I'm picking on. And yes, I don't like Graves, but Otunga is really, really out of his element.
Could you imagine doing your show with Kat, with Vince McMahon in your ear the whole time? I feel like the commentator position is one of the hardest jobs in the WWE, and it's a thankless position unless you're JR, unless you're Jim Ross. So, like, I mean, they hear people barking at them while they're mid-sentence. That would blow me sky high. I wouldn't be able to do it.
No, you make a good point, but it's also very forgiving in that no matter how bad people get at it, when they give someone a shot, they ride them out.
Yeah, they hold on to him, except for my rival, Rich Brennan. He got the boot early, which I was happy about.
Well, yeah, but he didn't get a real roster shot, a main roster shot. He was always, a network guy.
He was SmackDown for a little bit.
Oh, was he?
For a minute.
Well, yeah, that was someone, but he was better than maybe. I want to watch my tongue there. I don't know if I agree with what I was about to say, so I'll just stop. So I think that they need to rethink this Otunga decision before he becomes a permanent fixture. It was really bad, in my opinion.
He's better than Taz.
Better than Taz, and possibly better than Booker T. Personally,
Taz and Booker T would be a nightmare scenario.
Yeah, I agree. Although Corey Graves is better and Byron Saxton is better, in my opinion. So that's what I got there. Let's keep moving forward. I thought that the Divas segment, I don't want to call it the women's segment because this was a Divas segment.
It was.
It was so symbolic of what is happening on SmackDown's women's side because it's like literally DOA. It's like dead on arrival because it's like they wanted to have a match and then it didn't even happen. They couldn't even get it started.
And they did it twice. That happened to both women's matches.
Remind me about I'm talking about Becky Lynch and Eva.
Becky Lynch had happened and Eva had happened, and then at the very end of the night when Carmella debuted, it happened again. Two promised women's matches, and neither one happened. It's all story-driven, and it's all diva.
Yeah, I was specifically talking about just the symbolic nature of, you got two people in there ready to lock up, and then one just backs out and is like, nah, just nah. I know she faked a leg injury, but just nah. It's so symbolic of what SmackDown's Divas division is. And this is reminding me, and when you combine this with the debut of American Alpha, I think that, and this could have negative impact too, but I feel like they need to put all of the women on one show and all the tag guys on a different show, and they shouldn't be splitting those rosters.
I agree. I agree that they should not do that. It looks like they're going to.
Yeah.
I don't know how long they're going to leave American Alpha on SmackDown. Those guys are stars. They're just dying to be stars. Those dudes were awesome to watch.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I'm not sure last night was their best example of their work. Like I was kind of in and out of their match. I was excited for them to debut, and then for some reason when it was on, I wasn't focused on what was happening on the screen. But I've seen them live in person here in Evansville when NXT came. They had the match of the night easily. And then I've seen them on some of the NXT TakeOver pay-per-views, specials, or whatever you want to call them. And I think that they're fantastic. And I'm worried that they're going to get underutilized on SmackDown unless you put the rest of the tag division on SmackDown.
Well, there's no belt for them to win. That's a problem. But they're easily the best tag team on SmackDown right now.
Who'd they wrestle? I don't even remember.
Vaudevillains.
I hate them. It's
Vaudevillains, Ascension, the Usos, and American Alpha. So they're set to be the best tag team there.
Without a doubt, yeah. But there's like that's like being the tallest midget, as they say. It's like it's still being the best tag team on SmackDown is not going to be anything to hang your hat on.
The tastiest fart.
Hashtag tastiest fart, please.
Let's get that going. Let's trend that up.
Okay, I wanted to mention the Brock Lesnar invasion that happened last night. It certainly lacked the pizzazz of the night before.
because you kind of thought it was coming. The only reason I thought it might not come is because I didn't know if Brock would ever show up on SmackDown.
That's true. I
didn't know if he would do that or not.
And when it's a live environment like it is now, they can keep it a secret, which is great. I do love that the show is live. I hate that it's on Tuesday, but I love that it's live. So I feel like when Randy Orton did it on Raw, it was really special. It was well executed, and it was kind of fresh. And then doing it literally the exact same way the next night makes SmackDown feel second rate to me.
No, I don't agree with that, because I think that it's nice for him to get a receipt from Brock right away. Like, I liked that. What I didn't like was the attack on Brock came after a red-hot promo from Paul Heyman. The whole place was on fire, and it was interrupting something. Orton interrupted something special with something more special. Brock Lesnar came because Randy Orton, for some inexplicable reason, was fighting Fandango.
What was that about?
It was like
it was like the equivalent of a squash match.
Right, they're putting him in a squash match,
which is fine.
Just like he did against Miz. You know, it's like, have him in the ring, cutting a promo. Don't surround the ring in security and let Brock surprise everybody, because it would have been a surprise anyway.
But don't you feel like that would have come off second rate since it just happened less than 24 hours before?
I guess. It depends how you look at it. I think it's pretty cool to be like, oh, okay, you sandbagged me, now you're face down. So I get that.
I feel like if you would have gotten creative with it, you being the writers, you could have come up with something even better. Or maybe like you kind of have Randy Orton looking over his shoulder all night waiting for Brock, and he never even shows and just gets in his head. Or like, I feel like there's better ways to do it instead of a carbon copy of the night before.
Or, hold on, I'm choking. Hold on, I took a drink and it went right down the wrong pipe. Now I'm reminded of the time that you had hiccups during a podcast.
Oh, yes, that did happen once.
I'm so embarrassed. or you could have a moment where Brock Lesnar does what he did to, like, Dean Ambrose and just destroys him before the show even starts.
Yeah, I mean, there's other ways you could have handled it, I feel like, instead of making it feel like the leftovers from the night before, which is what SmackDown needs to get away from. Having the Raw set from an old Raw set is reminding us that it's the leftovers from Raw, and their poor drafting decisions make you realize that it's the leftovers from Raw. Their women's division, it's the leftovers from Raw. It's the little hand-me-downs. They need to do things to separate themselves, especially when Raw is so fresh on the brain. People are watching it less than 24 hours later.
Well, I feel like at this point, it's obvious to me that the Raw writers and the SmackDown writers are writing together, because they've got to write these two together. I'm hoping after SummerSlam, they just go two different directions. I want these shows to be autonomous from one another. I don't believe it'll ever happen, but I think once it does, things will start getting fresher. I'm hopeful.
Okay, no, I think it can happen. It happened before with the first one in like 2003. They were like completely separate, as much as they can be. I have one more note from the show. I just note that I really liked the over-the-top heel AJ. And I think this is one thing we've talked about privately before. When he started talking about millennials, I think he nailed it. And I can't stand that generation for some of the reasons that he really nailed. And that's one thing that's good is when heels become relatable. That is so effective. I feel like that was something Mick Foley did really well. Like, even though his characters could be outlandish, he had like a reason for every heel thing that he did. That's what makes a heel good, is when there's like reasons for why they do what they do that are logical.
Like a real heel, not like, I'm going to repossess your car.
Yes.
Repo, man.
Correct, yeah, exactly. So when AJ did that, I think he put himself into a position to be a really good heel. Not just good as in he has good matches, but good as in his motivations for being a bad guy are in the right place. And I think that he's right. Like, I can't stand the participation award generation and how entitled the generation a little younger than me feels that they are. And
I love the shot he took at TNA. Like, that was subtle, but that was funny.
Remind me, please.
Well, I mean, they were in Tennessee, But he's, he makes a line about, Tennessee's filled with losers and it's not, it's an awful place. He's like, and then he was like, trust me, I know. And
I didn't catch
subtle.
that.
It's subtle, but that's where he was going
okay,
from.
well, I should say I did catch that, but I did not compare it to TNA. But you're probably right. That's what he was going for.
I read, I didn't follow. I never watched TNA, not ever. So I didn't know AJ Styles much when he came in. And so you'll have to tell me if this is true or not. Someone wrote that it was hard to believe that at one point in time the microphone was the weakest part of his game.
Yeah, it was.
Was it? Because he's aces on the mic right now.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, that wasn't his strong suit, but like that, I mean, me, like my favorite wrestler of all time is Bret Hart, and I would say that Bret Hart talking isn't his strong suit. And even hearing the guy's podcast, which I listen to every single episode of it, talking is not the guy's strong suit. Even in real life, it's just not. His book was great, and when he sits down and writes stuff, I love it. But Bret didn't need to talk to get me excited to see him wrestle. Bret needed to wrestle to do that.
Right.
And AJ was the same way. It didn't really matter to me what he said when he was in the ring. He was top of the line.
Now he's killing it, and I think the feud with Cena is awesome, and I hope it continues past SummerSlam.
Yeah, we're going to see where things go. I'm excited to see what they do. Is that an officially announced match? Are they officially fighting at SummerSlam?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, he said, I challenge you to a fight, no club, it'll just be you and me, and Cena was like, you got it. So,
okay.
So add that to an already stacked card. I know it's going to be a 4-hour show.
Is there anything else from SmackDown you want? Or, I'm sorry, did I cut you off there?
No, that's it.
I was going to say, is there anything else from the show that you wanted to mention from SmackDown?
I don't think so. I don't hate Dolph Ziggler right now. I wish I did, and we'll watch again next week. I don't want to promise a SmackDown review every week, though, because after SummerSlam, I don't know if I can keep up with it.
Well, we'll see what we can do, and also keep in mind, you have a DVR, right? I mean, we can take 2 days and watch it if we need to.
But if it's bad, it's not a time issue. This is not a scheduling problem. This is like, if it's bad, dude, I don't want to do it.
Okay, well, yeah, let's agree to watch next week, and we'll go week by week.
Because I have enough anxiety in my life with my children that I don't need Dolph Ziggler and Eva Marie making it worse.
But I'll be honest with you, after this past episode, I'm kind of excited to see what they come up with next week.
We'll see. I am too. It should be good.
All right. Well, I'm going to sign off then on behalf of myself, the Rob, my tag team partner in crime, my BFF from State College, Pennsylvania, also known as Viperville, Jerry Valeri. Thank you so much for being a part of the podcast. We will check in with you again on Tuesday with another episode of Post to Post. Have a great week, everybody. We'll chat again soon.